Hey, random.
Hey, Sharkie.
So we talked about Morkborg.
hmm
Do you know what we haven't talked about yet?
A lot of stuff, but I know one thing we haven't talked about is your favorite of the Borg games.
That's right. And do you know which one that is?
It's Cyborg.
It is Cyborg.
What is Cyborg?
Cyborg describes itself as a nano-infested doomsday RPG about cybernetic misfits and punks raging against a relentless corporate hell.
That sounds about right. That's how it usually goes when I play it.
Yep.
How much is Cyborg?
Cyborg is a little bit more than Morkborg, running at 51.35.
The book's a little bigger, though.
It is.
It also has a lot of the same free tools,
It does. Not as many, but it does.
and it doesn't have as many free adventures, and it doesn't have a lot of like extra classes and stuff for free,
Mm-hmm.
but it does still have a character generator, an NPC generator, and a mission generator.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you still get a lot of value out of
You
it.
do. And it is compatible with Morkborg, so you can convert any of the free Morkborg material to Cyborg.
Yeah, you could take anything that's written for Morkborg and you could kind of change the in-game description to be like science fiction or cyberpunk
Mm-hmm.
versus fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of the Morkborg content would just fit right in.
Mm-hmm.
So, what does Cyborg do well?
Overall, I think it does the setting really well. I really enjoy the gameplay with the setting, like being in a futuristic hellscape.
Yeah, I like the cyberpunk setting a little more than the like ultra dark fantasy that is Morkborg. I agree with you. I think is the setting is better for me. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
it's better for everybody, but I enjoy it more.
Mm-hmm.
It also is just as fast to set up because it does have some of those free tools,
Mm-hmm.
and it also plays just as fast.
It does.
And then the other thing I like that I think it does really well is it layers a little bit of complexity on top of Morkborg. It adds rules for automatic fire,
Mm-hmm.
suppressive fire,
Mm-hmm.
cover, aiming, and then it gives you an optional way to do damage.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the suppressive fire rule. I think it gives characters that might not have a lot to do in a combat scenario, it gives them something to do because you can't really fail at suppressing fire.
Mm-hmm.
Your target takes like a morale test,
Mm-hmm.
and then either they're easier to hit or I think they are easier to hit or I don't remember what the other thing that it can do is off the top of my head.
I don't either. I do also really like the automatic fire option as well. Like if you hit, you can roll again, and you can roll again. Typically, you can get 2 or 3 shots off
Yeah,
and cause
the
damage.
yeah, the max is 3 and you can even put them on different targets as long as they're close together.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really nice. Um, the optional damage keeps some of the lethality in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot, but I also like that you can play without it.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that the optional damage rule doesn't apply if you're on your last hit point.
But if you do die, the character generator takes 2 seconds, and you're good to go.
Yeah, the character generator really helps. And then another thing that I enjoy about Cyborg is your characters are kind of naturally less flawed
Yes.
than they are in Morkborg. And they're definitely less like selfishly motivated or
Mhm.
less like villainous than they
Correct.
are in Morkborg. And so I think if you enjoy a game where you're leaning a little more toward good guy than bad guy.
And you're leaning a little more towards serious than humorous.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The setting of Morkborg is so dark that it sometimes just almost becomes satire.
Yes.
So what doesn't Cyborg do well.
The leveling system is still not great.
Yeah, the leveling is still tough because it still does the randomization of your stats when you level, where they can randomly go up or down. And so you can still end up with the same situation where you have a character whose primary stat has dropped a couple times, and now they're just not good at the thing they're supposed to be good at. It also still suffers from the hit points issue a little bit.
Yes.
It's not as bad because of that automatic fire rule. Combat stays lethal a lot longer. Like, I would say in Borg, if you level up twice, the combat isn't as lethal. And I would say in Cyborg, you can level up probably 3 times before the combat becomes a lot less lethal. So that also is a little bit of an offset that helps it lend itself toward slightly longer campaign. And certainly so if you don't level up every time you play.
Right.
So overall, what would you rate Cyborg?
Overall, I would rate Cyborg as an A+ for me because I love the setting so much more than I do Borg, even though Borg is also a good game. But overall, I think I'd give it an A for in general, just because of some of those like differences between Borg and Cyborg, and depending on what your preference is gameplay wise, could be different.
Yeah, I would give it an A+ for me. Maybe an A++. I think I gave Borg an A+, and I enjoy the setting and the gameplay of Cyborg just slightly more. And so maybe that makes it an A++ for me. And I would give it a B+, which I think I gave Borg a B. And I think that because it adds a little bit of complexity, but not too much, and it's still really fast to play, but it still suffers from some of those same flaws with leveling. I think it jumps up a plus, but it doesn't jump up a whole letter grade.
And it is a little bit more versatile than Borg because even if your stats are a little wonky after leveling up, you're never like unable to do something.
Yeah, there are more ways. Cyborg has more ways to interact with the game world than Borg, mainly because there is hacking and there are drones, and then it emphasizes both melee and ranged combat in a way that Borg really doesn't. There is ranged combat in Borg, but it's not as emphasized as it is in Cyborg. And so if your character, if you roll one of the classes that is kind of melee based, and then your strength falls when you level, you're kind of don't really have a whole lot you can do in Borg.
Right.
But if that happens to you in Cyborg, your character can always just pick up an automatic firing weapon.
Right.
And
you can still shoot.
Yeah, exactly. And if your stats for shooting drop too much,
you can punch something in the face.
Yeah, you can pick up a melee weapon. And so I think that the combat side and just the gameplay side as well, because there's the hacking and there's using like the nanotechnologies and stuff. So I think because Cyborg has just a couple more ways to interact with the game world, I agree with you. I think it picks up a little bit of versatility that Borg lacks.
Well, I have been Sharkie.
And I've been Random.
Thank you for tuning in.
And be sure to check out our RPG playlist and some of our other videos.